Good morning, everybody. This is Stephen Tang doing another show and tell. I'm not in the mood to talk to the camera, so I'm just gonna do straight up reading my notes off the laptop today. Also, I've been pretty sick for the last few days, so if you don't mind me, today's gonna be a little different. So I've had kind of like a cold or a flu. I had a really bad fever a couple of days ago with muscle ache and chills to the point where I didn't want to move. I also have a bad cough, and I like to do uncut monologues, or that's what I've been doing at least so far. I will cut if I have a coughing fit and I'm coughing my lungs out today, or if I feel like I'm losing my voice, which I'm kind of on the verge of right now. Anyway, I don't like to edit. I noticed in a video that I watched recently where they cut so many times, either they made a gaffe or a mistake, or they rambled on too long, or they had to do a retake. They just kept cutting, and there was stuff going on in the background, and you just see people in the background jittering so many times. They cut probably every second or every 2 seconds. In my opinion, that's excessive, and it becomes a distraction. So I'm not gonna call out who was editing like that, but it's kind of like trying to be perfect. Nobody's perfect. We do retakes. That's natural. The human mind likes to think, and we're always our own toughest critic. So it's okay to do things over if you want to, but just that much cutting is. I think viewers pick up on it, it's a little desperate. Anyway, today I wanted to talk about something not related to photography at all. I don't know why I made all of my videos about photography so far. I really wanted to showcase that I'm more than photographer Steven. I never defined my identity by photography, and even less by what kind of cameras I purchase, things like that. That's nothing could be further from me. I'm about so many other things. I'm a human being first, a member of this planet, and that's what I want to showcase. I have curiosity, I have interests. I don't try to pigeonhole myself in any one single interest, even though society wants us to specialize so that we can serve the economy in a very particular way for our lifetime. But I think that boat has sailed. Things are not like that anymore. We're not like our parents, where we can work at the same job in the same company doing the same thing until retirement age and then live off benefits forever. Things just aren't that way anymore. So I am constantly trying to learn and adapt and try to understand where we are, where we're headed as a society. I like learning new things. If I could live forever, I would, just so I could see where things are 100 years from now, 200 years from now. I would love that, but that's not realistic. So that's cool. I saw a headline about how we have fewer friends than ever. Obviously, that's for grabbing views, as headlines are designed to do nowadays. And by we, they mean American society. Keep in mind, America is where our lives take place, at least mine. This is where my life takes place. But it's also not the world. It's a fraction of the total population. America does establish a dominant culture and presence in the world. But that shouldn't lead you to the conclusion that it's perfect. Sometimes things can be flawed, things can be improved. Always try to improve and strive for better. So American society, we have fewer friends than ever on average. And I didn't go into the article. I just thought about the headline as it is. And my thoughts are, yes, I can perceive this. I find it to be believable. And it's been on my mind for like the last day or so. Just it's so weird. Like, I don't want to read things sometimes because like they're trying to like push an opinion on you, and I just don't really care for the source where the article came from. I also don't know how the study was conducted. It's probably like a survey format. Like, that's a really subjective thing. Like, do you feel lonely? Yes or no? It could depend on so many things. Or maybe the survey's like, hey, how many close friends do you think you have? But that could be like somebody else considers you a close friend, but you just consider them like a general friend. It could be something like that. So it's very subjective to ask people about these sort of things. But just the general feeling of loneliness, I believe that is growing, in part due to the pandemic, most definitely. But it's also the direction that we're headed with work and the internet. And like I said, how the economy pushes people to like specialize and just become something, or else you don't have a place in the world or in your circle. So let's see. On a separate thought, with the economy, I think that loneliness is related to the winner and loser mentality. That's just the way that things are structured in America. You're either a winner or a loser. You need losers to be a winner. It's that's the general mentality. And if you're successful and rich, you tend to believe that you've earned it. And if you're poor, you tend to believe that you deserve that outcome. We celebrate the successful, and we dehumanize. I don't know. We kind of sweep the poor under the rug. We have a growing homelessness problem. We have a growing wage gap problem. Poverty is nowhere near being eradicated. And it creates a divide in society. It's all about the haves and the have-nots. And generally, those two groups, they don't mingle with each other. And the middle class, they say that it's sort of disappearing. I don't really know how I would define the middle class currently. But I know that we have lots of billionaires who have more money than they need to spend, or more money than they could spend in a lifetime. And there are things that there's nothing that they can't buy. So you could buy an entire country with billions of dollars. You could buy literally all the land and the buildings and people in X amount of square miles. Anyway, that's not what I was getting to. But anyway, I think we feel more divided. We being the global population, not just America. And in my personal experience in work, I feel like I've worked with people who want to reinforce a hierarchy. So they want to make sure that they stay at like their level and make sure you stay at your level doing whatever it is you do. I think that's work culture in general. I haven't been in traditional work for so long. And those types of people, they tend to see relationships as transactional. It's like, hey, what do I get out of socializing and mingling with you? What's in it for me? In general, that's just the wrong attitude, and I'll go into that a little bit further later. I'm just really not about that sort of stuff. I wanted to touch on the loneliness thing. I've experienced that after moving cross country. I uprooted myself from a more comfortable situation, just being more established back in the East Coast with family and friends. So I moved, and the first few months were lonely, but once I started getting into like work and stuff, it became better. I started meeting more people, and I would still say though, however, that the amount of close friends I have is pretty small. There are just a handful of people that I interact with very regularly. However, it's become mainly through like text messaging rather than face-to-face or phone conversation. And that's okay. I'll take it. People seem like they're busy. So, busy with what? I don't know. They're just doing their own crap. And I have family life too, so. However, my immediate family, we're all scattered. We're a small family and we're all scattered, so I don't have like close family ties. Currently, my father is stranded in Asia, or not stranded, but chose to stay there since the pandemic. I've got mom and stepmom back on the East Coast. Got two sisters in two different states on the East Coast. So we're all thousands of miles apart from each other. And some of them are just living on their own. And maybe I'm feeling a little guilty right now, but that's just the way things have ended up post-pandemic. So, on family. Families are shrinking worldwide. That's going to add to the lonesome factor. There's a lower birth rate, and at least in the US, there's a growing sort of like anti-child or anti-children attitude that I perceive. And I kind of think that's their coping mechanism for wealth inequality and a weak economy with no opportunity for mobility. So I kind of think that's how they deal with it. They lash out at people who do have children. Ew, children are gross, whatever. That sort of stuff. And yes, children are hard work, and you can never be 100% prepared for what lies ahead when you're expecting a growing family. It's just, however, that is our history as a species. That's how we've made it this far, by reproducing and passing our culture down. And that's what makes things so interesting. We've populated the globe, and we see generational changes. We keep history. We can read about recorded history. We could share those stories with other people in different languages. That's super cool. So you could bash having children, but that's what's gotten us this far as a population. So the consequences of a lower birth rate, I think, are going to be a whole lot of lonely single people. I've got single friends. I've got friends who haven't started a family. It's just going to be different. Um, you have less in common with those people over time if you have a family of your own. Uh, Naturally, there are just fewer activities you can engage in together. It's not like you go out and like drink and party and do I don't know, go on like super long vacations and crap like that. Um, when you've got like another human being who completely depends on you. Um, I'm just reading a note, and I'm gonna skip that one. Moving on, I also understand why another factor that may add to the lonesome factor, and that would be just how hard it is to make friends. Naturally, we are very skeptical of strangers. So imagine you're out and about doing your thing, and somebody just walks over, heads in your direction, and starts talking to you. And naturally, your shields go up, and you wonder, like, what do they want? And is there some sort of transaction that they're seeking? And this is our natural skepticism now. I think we've been conditioned to think this way, especially in America. It's like, okay, somebody's trying to like get something out of me. Gut reaction. I think somehow this needs to change, and maybe that has to do with the mindset of abundance versus the mindset of scarcity. It's like, do you want to think that we're all competing for scarce resources, or do we think there's enough to go around? There's enough money, food, housing to go around, and we don't have to feel like somebody's coming to take something away from us anymore. This I don't have an answer to. This is something that society has to overcome at some point. Maybe just get away from late stage capitalism overall. Yet with this in mind, we push our kids to socialize. Like, hey, you gotta go to school, you gotta learn to make friends and play with each other, get along and all that. But then as they become an adult, they become skeptical. So that post high school age, that's where we see that change in behavior. I don't have any sources, but you hear about like how it's harder to make friends after school and all that. Maybe about half the population of the US goes to college. So imagine the other 50%, they are not mingling, they are not among peers after high school. So maybe it's a lot harder for them to expand their social circle. But then the college age students, they kind of go into a bubble. There's this divide right now, like between like the people with college education and post-college education, and the people with only a high school degree. So I'm making assumptions, but I believe that they tend to not mingle with one another, and they sort of just stay in their own bubbles. So as a result, in this country, you have a whole bunch of bubbles with like-minded people who want to live in the city together, in the big, fancy, expensive cities, and they all vote similarly, and they all have similar values. And then you have like the rural and suburban population. I don't know where I'm getting at. Like, when I'm on the road driving, I let my mind wander, and these are some of the thoughts I have. Like, hey, we're way too divided, and we've got to do better. So, food for thought. That's pretty much it today. Nothing solid, no show and tell. Just my thoughts about how we're very fractured and we've got to do better. I know that's there's no closure. That kind of sucks. And also, I've been sick. I feel like I just had to put something out there to try to keep up the momentum and let people know that, or let myself know that I'm still alive and I'm still engaging in critical thinking. All right, that's it for today. Take it easy, guys.